You know, in the history of war, some weapons just become legendary. This is the story of one of those. An instrument so secret, so promising, it was believed it could literally change the nature of war itself. We're talking about the Norden Bombsight.
So look at this thing. This incredibly complex machine of gears, gyros, and lenses. It was way more than just a piece of equipment. It was America's secret weapon. The promise, the myth around it, was that a bomber flying miles above the Earth could drop a single bomb into a pickle barrel. Seriously, this wasn't just supposed to be warfare. It was supposed to be a precise surgical science.
And to chase that promise, the investment was just staggering. The Norden program cost $1.1 billion. To put that in perspective, that's almost two-thirds of the entire cost of the Manhattan Project. You know, the program that built the atomic bomb. This wasn't just another project. It was a national obsession. Okay, so where did all this hype come from? I mean, this incredible promise of precision. It wasn't just propaganda. It was actually born from some truly remarkable test results. Just look at that number. In pre-war testing, the Norden achieved what's called a circular error probable, or CEP, of just 150 feet. What that means is if you drop a bunch of bombs, half of them are going to land inside a circle just 150 feet across. From tens of thousands of feet in the air, that kind of accuracy was absolutely revolutionary. And that kind of precision, well, it completely changed the game for military strategists. They really believed they could now surgically remove high-value targets. A single factory, one specific bridge, an enemy battleship, all of it could be taken out without having to carpet bomb entire cities. This was going to change the whole calculus of war. So what was this revolutionary machine behind the myth? What was the secret sauce, the technological leap that made this kind of precision even seem possible? At its core, the Norden was a tachometric bomb sight. Now, that sounds complicated, but here's the simple version. Older bomb sights, the bombardier had to do a ton of math by hand. The Norden used a mechanical analog computer to do all the hard work for you, constantly calculating the plane's true speed and direction over the ground. And the way it worked was it was something else. The bombardier would find the target and lock onto it. Then this amazing internal computer would calculate everything, wind drift, speed, altitude, and feed it all directly into the plane's autopilot. For the last 30 seconds of the bomb run, the machine was actually flying the plane, making these tiny, perfect corrections no human pilot could ever match. In this diagram, I mean, it gives you a peek behind the curtain at just how insanely complex this thing was. It was a 2,000-part machine, and it was notoriously difficult to use. It took over 8 minutes just to align the gyros. And if you hit a patch of turbulence, it could throw the whole system off, forcing the bombardier to start all over again. But, and this is a big but, this brings us to a crucial turning point. The Norden was a technological marvel on the testing ground. War, though, is not a controlled experiment. The promise of the machine was about to collide head-on with the brutal reality of combat. The whole pickle barrel myth was incredibly powerful. But what happened when the bombs actually started falling over enemy territory, with flak exploding all around and enemy fighters bearing down on you? Well, the reality was a world away from those tests. By 1943, the average combat accuracy was a circular error of 1,200 feet. That's 8 times worse than the tests. All of a sudden, this miracle weapon was performing about as well as other, much less famous Allied and even German bomb sites. So you see what happened here, right? The whole dream of these surgical, pinpoint strikes, it just went out the window. It gave way to the reality of area bombing. Instead of taking out a single factory, air forces had to send huge fleets of bombers just to hit city-sized areas, basically hoping they'd damage the target. The science of bombing was still a very messy, very imprecise business. And if that wasn't enough, there's another layer to this myth that needs peeling back. The idea that the Norden was America's most closely guarded secret, well, that was also kind of a myth. The crazy thing is, this top secret weapon, it wasn't really a secret at all. Key details had been passed to German intelligence before the war even started. Plus, both the Germans and the British were already working on their own bomb sites based on the exact same principles. The cat was already out of the bag. But here's the kicker. America guarded this thing like gold, even from its closest allies. Britain was desperate to get their hands on the Norden. They asked repeatedly. They offered to trade their own advanced gun turrets. The issue even went all the way up to Prime Minister Chamberlain and President Roosevelt, and every single time, the answer was no. And that was the official story. The U.S. Navy guarded it with everything they had, terrified it would fall into enemy hands and put their own fleet at risk. The irony, of course, is that the Germans already had the basic idea, which made all the intense secrecy and political drama pretty much pointless.
Okay, so let's put it all together. It wasn't the pinpoint weapon everyone dreamed of, and it wasn't the big secret everyone thought it was. So, what's its real place in history? Well, its legacy is a lot more complex than just its combat record.
Well, for one thing, despite all its flaws, this thing was an absolute workhorse. I mean, they built 72,000 of them for the Army Air Force alone. It stayed in service long after World War II, right through the Korean War. And get this, its last documented combat use was in 1967 by a U.S. Navy squadron dropping sensors over the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam. Incredible. But maybe this is the real reason its legend is so powerful? That's Bombardier Thomas Furby with the actual Norden he used aboard the Enola Gay to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The moment the Norden was used on that mission, its place in history was cemented. Forget the statistics. It became a war-winning weapon in the public's mind forever. So when you look back, the Norden definitely fell short of that pickle barrel promise. But its revolutionary mix of an analog computer talking to an autopilot absolutely pushed the boundaries of what anyone thought was possible. It laid the conceptual foundation for the entire era of precision-guided smart weapons that define warfare today. So was it a failure? Or was it actually a crucial, if flawed, first step?